What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/TalesFromRetail. Alright, this story's called Rude Customer Forced to Apologize to Me. So, this is a story from my first job ever. For some backstory, I worked at a department store for 3 years and was working in the lawn and garden tools section of the store. It took me some time to get used to it, and learning about the specs for the merchandise was a bit of a pain. But I managed with the help from my coworkers, and they are awesome. Miss them like crazy since I left, but I do contact them from time to time. Story time. I've been working there for a year and a half by the time, and a pretty big snowstorm was about to hit the next few days, so we had a lot of people in the store wanting snow throwers, shovels, etc. Outside the store, chained up, were some returned or used snow throwers at a lower price, but they make us some decent commission, more if a protection plan was added. This guy comes in, and since I wasn't with anyone at the moment, our cashier directed him to me for help. He comes up to me asking if I could help him with a snow thrower outside, and I said sure. Jerk, as to what I'll refer to him by now going forward, started out decent in the beginning and was somewhat impressed that I knew better ways to take care of the snow thrower. Thank you, V, not using his full name. Those extra details helped a lot. Jerk said he needed to check something else in the store, but told me he'd come back to me when he was finished for the sale. I said sure thing and placed a sold sign on it. About 15 minutes later, he comes back and asks for me to finish the sale. I ring him up with no protection plan since I got this a lot. His friend is a mechanic. It didn't hurt my numbers much since I had sold a much more expensive model with a 3-year plan. The sale is done and I go with him to unlock it since it was chained and had a security tag on it. No clue how that helped, but I didn't care much. And he asks if I can get a wrench to loosen the bolts. We go inside and this is where he went from kind to a jerk.
So what about its horsepower? How much does it have?
Snow throwers don't go by horsepower. They go by cubic capacity.
But do you know the conversion?
No, not really.
So you don't know much else about this machine then? Just the basics and a bit more how to maintain it?
Me not knowing where this is going, but trying to stay polite. Sorry, but when it comes to more details like what you're asking me, I don't really know much else. This dude didn't go livid or anything like that, but was annoyed. He started insulting my knowledge, calling me an idiot, and then said the company hired me because they were sorry for me. I normally am a very patient person, not wanting to argue unless I have to, and I never have been in an actual fight, but I can hold my own if need be. Almost was in one though, but that was before I worked there, and that would be another story if I ever remember the details. Also, I was hired there because my older brother worked for them also as a store manager, so there was a reputation with our name at the store. Him being a store manager and me being one of the top sellers for my department. The manager who hired me didn't know we were brothers until he saw our last name, and this was after he said I was hired. Anyway, I was done with this guy, and I told him also. I went back inside with him demanding the wrench to loosen the bolts, but I told him no and tossed it back in our toolbox. He was annoyed and demanded a manager, which the cashier called to get him to shut up and out of the store. Another coworker went with me with the wrench and loosened it for him. About 5 minutes later, my managers came to the front of the store and asked Jerk what was wrong, and he told them. However, my coworkers heard the insults and told the managers what he said. They called me over the PA system as I was away from the checkout and away from him. I went over and this is what I came back to.
You need to apologize to my associate right now. How dare you insult him while he's been nothing but kind and patient to you?
We don't take kindly to customers being rude to them. Somewhat half-assed.
Sorry.
Apology accepted.
Good. Now you may leave. We are done dealing with you.
The guy left, shaking his head, and I thought he was muttering to himself, but I didn't care anymore. My managers came up to me and said to not worry about him, and that it was a smart idea to get away from him in case the situation escalated. They know that I have a lot of patience, but even I have my limits. We spoke for a few minutes so I can just get that jerk out of my mind, and my floor manager, who was a nice Jamaican older woman and the one who mainly spoke to Jerk, said,
I hope that thing breaks while he's using it. He didn't buy a plan, right?
I shake my head and she said,
Good, cause I don't want him here or the repair center at all.
I had a smile on my face for the rest of the shift. that remains my favorite moment of my life to this day. Okay. I currently work in a supermarket since I didn't return to the sporting goods store because of the pandemic, and my manager there is pretty chill also, and I told him the story and he said that he'd do the same if that ever happened. I had a smug smile the whole time typing this out. Edit. It was a 2-stage snowblower. For some reason, I've just been calling them snow throwers despite the subtle differences, even a little before I left the company due to work becoming scarce, and with the horsepower parts, the snowblower was about 160cc, and even then I didn't remember the conversion, but it's around 5 horsepower. Thanks for the info, man. This is what I like to see, people, workers, managers standing up for the worker. It's nice. Makes me think of the sentiment that, coworkers and stuff, they're like your family away from home. Michael Scott would approve. Alright, this story is called Today's My Birthday. It reminded me of another birthday story wherein I got the cops called on me because of misunderstanding. Happy belated birthday, OP. User never. Okay, so I used to work at a video game store a while back. We would take games and systems in for trade. One day, a woman and her son came in and wanted to trade in the son's Nintendo DS to get something else. Sure thing, I can do that for you, I say as I take the DS. I powered it on to test it out, as we do with all system trades, and it plays a startup jingle like most electronics. After I hear the jingle, I smile and say, "Happy birthday!" to the boy. Some of you already know why I said this. If you don't, it will become clear later. The boy's eyes widened in wondrous amazement, and he turned to his mom and said, "How did he know it was my birthday?" with a big smile on his face. His mother, however, did not have a smile on her face. It was a scowl.
How did you know it's his birthday?
She asked inquisitively. I started to respond. Well, the DS has, but was cut off by her.
Are you the one who's been stalking us?
Excuse me? I responded. I was quite taken aback.
You're the one who's been stalking us. I'm calling the cops.
She yelled. She ripped the DS from my hands and grabbed her son's hand and left the store. She turned to the left and went almost out of view and pulled out her phone. I couldn't hear what she was saying on the phone. I should also point out that I was working by myself at the time, and there had been one other customer in the store near the back. She naturally heard everything. The store was rather small and came up to inquire as to what happened. I say, "I don't know. She just freaked out when I said happy birthday to her son and said she was calling the cops." She responded,
"Oh, she doesn't know about the DS jingle?"
"Evidently not. I mean, I feel for her if she's got some issue or something, but yeah, she just kind of flipped out there." I checked her out, just buying some PS3 games, and I happened to see her trying to talk to the woman when she left. It looked like she was just trying to convince her that it was a misunderstanding, but the woman wasn't having it. She stood there indignantly, with her son, waiting. I could have gone out to try to explain it to her, but I thought that it might just make things worse, so I decided against it. A little while later, another customer came in, and as they opened the door, I heard the mother say,
"He's a stalker in there."
The guy was obviously confused and happened to be a regular.
"What's that about?"
Reg asked me. "It's just a wild misunderstanding on her part," I say. I explained what happened and we both chuckled. Assuming a cop would come to investigate, I prepared for their arrival by getting out a used DS to demonstrate the misunderstanding. A few minutes later, I see a squad car turn up. The officer came up to the woman and led her away from the store as he took her statement. Reg and I were just waiting for him to come inside. Eventually, he did so.
"Lady said you're stalking her?"
he said with a slight inclination that he didn't believe her. I'm guessing she was rambling or something when telling her story. "Sorry, officer." I looked to his name badge. "Brown? My name's Never, and it's really just a silly misunderstanding on her part. She told you I said happy birthday to her son, right?" He nods. "Well, the only reason I figured out it was his birthday was because they wanted to sell their Nintendo DS, and there's this feature." I pull out the DS and motion to it. You see, when you turn it on, it plays this little jingle. I turn it on and it plays the jingle. Now, the thing is, if you turn it on the birthday that was set by the user, I go into the settings and change the birthday to the current day and turn it off. The jingle that plays on startup is noticeably different, and turn it on and it plays the special birthday jingle. That's the only reason I knew it was his birthday. Officer Brown seems to understand. He takes my information and thanks me and leaves. I see him go out to the parking lot and talk with the mother. She seemed displeased at first, but appears at ease after Brown demonstrates on the kid's DS what had happened. Even though she calmed down, he appears to urge her not to come back in the store and leave. Reg and I had quite a laugh after Brown left. Believe it or not, I've had a similar experience before this, wherein the mom actually let me explain, and she, the kid, and I were all happily amused. Imagine being that mom, how embarrassing that would be. And imagine being Officer Brown. I mean, he probably has had stupid reports like that, or stupid calls like that all the time, but it's a waste of time, waste of resources. Don't be dumb. Then again, if she was being stalked, I can imagine that being a scary thing, especially if you've got a kid and the person you think is a stalker knows your kid's birthday. It's creepy. So I can understand the woman freaking out, but she should have at least given the guy a chance to explain. But again, understandable. Alright, this story's called Woman Flips Her Lid at Me for Doing My Job. This story starts on a Thursday night a couple of weeks ago. I was on the late shift and one of our heavy lifter guys just got off work and came into the store with his mom to do some shopping. He gets to my register and I am ringing up his mom's items when he tells me about this lady that was sitting in a chair we had up for auction and that he told her she was not allowed. I look behind him and say that there's a lady sitting in the chair right now. He looks and exclaims that it's the same lady. So I finish checking them out and tell him that I'll take care of it since he was off duty. I stare at her for a few seconds before she makes eye contact and gets up to walk towards me. But another customer gets to my register first, so I ring up his stuff. Once I was done, I walk around the counter and towards the lady. And before I can say anything, she hands me money, intending to just pay for the purse she had grabbed off of one of our racks without ringing it up or anything. Ma'am, you can't just hand me money. You need to wait in line for—
Fine, then I guess I'm not buying this.
She hands me the purse and walks off. I turn my back to her and put the purse behind the counter so I could put it back on the racks later. I turn back around towards her and she's sitting in the chair again. So I walk over towards her. Ma'am, you can't sit in this chair. It's up for auction. But we have a bet. She interrupts me by scoffing and standing up, grabbing her cart full of stuff and walking out with it. I follow her. Ma'am, did you pay for that?
How dare you, insinuating that I would steal? You have such a smart-ass mouth. I can't believe they would hire someone like you.
She kept rambling on, screaming her head off, calling me a smart-ass multiple times among other things. She eventually demands to speak with the owner. I say I can call my manager. I pull out my radio. Hey, manager, could you come up front? We have a customer with a problem. At this point, I was trying really hard to control my voice and nerves. This woman had me pissed off, but I wasn't allowed to snap back at her, so my body was shaking with the rising pressure. My manager finally arrives and I just point her in the direction of the customer. Okay, so the manager's a chick. The lady starts back up her tirade about how I have a smart-ass mouth and should be fired and blah blah blah. My manager trying to cut in to speak.
Ma'am, she's just doing her job. She called me a thief. Do you believe her? I can't believe this place has gone so far downhill, hiring someone like that. Ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. I can't. I'm waiting on someone. Who? That's none of your business. It is my business. It's my store.
At this point, the lady starts back up her tirade at my manager, and other customers are walking past us and looking at her, then at me. I guess they thought I was upset by what was happening because I was shaking.
Are you okay, dear?
Yeah. Is she serious? She's nuts!
Yeah, she's insane. She can't be serious.
My manager turns away from the lady and tells me I can go back to my register. But as I'm walking away, I hear this little tidbit. The lady had turned to another customer and was trying to get them to agree with her on the situation.
You can't think this is acceptable.
Lady, I'd rather be dead than talking with you.
Context for who customer friend is. He's a regular customer who has made friends with all of those who work registers and the managers. He's the sweetest, most naive old man I have ever met. So it was both a shock and a laugh riot to hear those words come out of his mouth. Now I was shaking with laughter and got a few more other customers asking if I was alright. I later explained to my manager what happened before I called her up, and she said if someone gets that upset and offended over being asked that, it means they probably did steal something. Oh yeah, that's funny. Guilt often hides behind a veil of anger. But I love this. You know, just people collectively agreeing that one person's being a nut job, and then, you know, they treat them like the nut job that they are. It's beautiful.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.